Look at the tragedy of the Kashmiri Pandits. When Pakistan-sponsored terrorists are killing with impunity the native Hindu Kashmiris, the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, who is a representative of the Government of India, is forcing poor Kashmiri Pandits living as migrants elsewhere to return to the valley if they want any financial support from the government. What a cruel choice before these Kashmiri Pandits. Either face starvation outside or face militant bullets in Kashmir. Unfortunately, the average Kashmiri Pandit has been facing this tragic dilemma since the 1990s. Imagine their plights. In 1990s, they were hounded out of their homeland by Pakistan-sponsored terrorists. They had to abandon their homes, their property, and their near and dear ones. They had to live the life of a migrant in Jammu or elsewhere in the country. Governments came and governments went in the last 30 years. Father-son Abdullahs of National Conference became chief ministers. Father-daughter Muftis of PDP, People's Democratic Party, became chief ministers as well. They donned the mantle again and again. Even the Congress's Ghulam Nabi Azad became a chief minister for little more than 2 years, as the Congress party had joined a coalition with the PDP. But in all these years, Kashmiri Pandits did not get justice. All these leaders did not, or rather, they could not create the conducive environment for the Kashmiri Pandits to return to their homeland. How eager these Kashmiri Pandits were for the return of BJP to take power in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Yes, the BJP came to power in 2016 in a coalition government with the PDP, but only as a junior partner. Mehbooba Mufti was the chief minister, and the BJP could justifiably claim that the law and order was beyond its control. Yes, being in power in the central government, it had complete control over the armed forces deployed in Kashmir Valley. Yes, there was carpet deployment of the Indian Army as well as the paramilitary forces throughout the valley. But the BJP's contention was that the central forces were not getting the cooperation of the state police, and that hampered the anti-terrorist campaign in the valley. Taking that plea, the BJP withdrew support from Mehbooba-led government in 2018. Barely 2 years after the two unlikely parties had come together with the promise of giving Jammu and Kashmir a new dawn. But that dawn never arrived. After the BJP withdrew its support, there was either the governor's rule or there was the president's rule. In either case, it was the rule by the BJP-controlled central government over Jammu and Kashmir. So after 2018, both central and the state government, that is the government of Jammu and Kashmir, was under the BJP's thumb. The BJP got the complete control over the administration of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. It's more than 4 years since the BJP is in the saddle. To strengthen its hands in Kashmir, to ensure that there is no iota of obstacles in the good governance of the state, the central government even piloted a bill in parliament abolishing the special privileges that were granted to Jammu and Kashmir during its accession to the Union of India in October 1947. Abolition of Article 370, which was a major plank of the BJP and its parent organization Janshan since 1950s, was finally realized on August 5, 2019. When the government sprang a surprise that morning in Parliament, introduced the bill unannounced and passed it with a voice vote, almost as a unanimous vote. That day, the government even abolished the provision of Article 35A that prohibited non-natives of Kashmir Valley from buying property and settling down there. With one fell swoop, the BJP was, at least it appeared, ready to homogenize Kashmir, make it look like any other state of Union of India. Yes, after that fateful day in 2019, it seemed peace had descended in Kashmir. It appeared finally cross-border terrorism has been stamped out from the state. Thousands of non-Kashmiris, non-Muslims were allotted land and were asked to settle down now that the fear of bullet of a terrorist had disappeared completely, once and for all. Consequently, it appeared for some time as if things had taken a decisively better turn. Some displaced Kashmiri Pandits began to return. Many others planned their return with new hope and new anticipation. And then, less than 2 years down the line, things began to fall apart. Everything began to turn topsy-turvy. What had appeared enduring peace in the previous 18 months suddenly turned out to be the temporary peace of a graveyard. What was touted as a new beginning turned out to be a false start. Guns began to roar. Guns of terrorists began to take a toll. Kashmiri Pandits were the prime target. Non-Kashmiri migrants also faced the bullet. It was back to square one. It was a replay of 1990s again. Those Kashmiri Pandits who had returned with great hope had to flee again to save their lives. Even some Kashmiri Pandits who had bravely stayed back in the 1990s, this time chose not to take the risk, as they felt that the current dispensation has made their life more vulnerable than any time in the past. Look at the tragic dilemma before an average Kashmiri Pandit today. Mind you, well-off Kashmiri Pandits have nothing to bother. They can settle in Delhi, in Mumbai, in Dubai, in London, in New York, anywhere. The real victims are the ordinary Kashmiri Pandits who have to earn a livelihood to survive. Yes, the government has created a special employment scheme for the poor Kashmiri Pandits. But it says that they will get the salary only if they agree to serve in the Kashmir Valley itself. Many of them had actually returned to Kashmir from Jammu and other places of India and had begun to serve there. But they had no option but to relocate to Jammu or other places in the face of the virulent terrorist attack after 2021. Their demand today is that they would return to Kashmir only when the life-threatening situation there is brought under control, and till then, they should be given work and salary at whatever location they are in. But the government's response is a firm no. The government says that it cannot allocate work to Kashmiri Pandits outside Kashmir. Then the Kashmiri Pandits are saying, then give us salary till you bolster your capability to save our lives in Kashmir Valley. The government again says no to that. Its diktat is clear. If you are not physically present at your appointed place in Kashmir Valley, you will not get salary. Kashmiri Pandits in Jammu have been protesting against this decision for months. But the government is stubborn. It refuses to concede to their fair demand, the demand of a displaced community. What a tragic situation for Kashmiri Pandits. Their last hope was the BJP. They had that dream that only if a BJP government came to power, their situation would be redeemed. Here is a situation where de facto and de jure power lies with the BJP government. But the Kashmiri Pandits are cursing their fate. They just can't believe that a BJP government is ready to make them cannon fodder for the militant bullets. Their last beacon of hope has completely betrayed them. Who will Kashmiri Pandits now turn to? Any answers?